Okay, this is the 13 by 40 gap bed gearhead lathe by Enco. You can see the model number here. This one also has the DRO on it, which is a great help and probably should be purchased with this if you're going to buy this lathe. The dials are probably not accurate enough unless serious work is done on them to do any kind of accurate work unless you have the DRO, though they are sufficient. Okay, my purpose here is to show how to remove the oil and change the oil from the gearbox. I've already changed the headstock oil, which is here, by simply removing these bolts here, being careful not to disturb the cork gasket that's right under here, and then simply sucking the oil out of there with a shop vac and actually a hose duct taped down into the shop vac. I simply used this kind of air hose and taped it with duct tape into the vacuum cleaner and sucked the oil out that way, and then drained the oil or put it into a container. Once the oil is removed from that headstock, it can be rinsed with diesel. Don't use anything more flammable than that if you want to suck it out again with a vacuum. After that was sucked out and cleaned thoroughly and then rinsed with, or rather diluted, I guess the diesel would be diluted with mobile DTE 26 hydraulic oil. It should be this ISO VG 68. Anyway, now after you've rinsed it a couple times and sucked it out with the oil, then you can refill it. Before you refill it, you need to do this. You need to put, that is the drain plug for this. The fill plug is up here on top. This is the left-hand side of the lathe, and this is a street elbow, which is 3/8 MIP, and that's very nice that this is a simple 3/8 thread. And then I simply put the Teflon tape on, screwed it back in, and then I hooked a 3/8 MIP barb onto it, which you can see there. Hooked a tube to it. I happen to put a valve on here that's hooked to that tube, and this will allow me to drain it again without having to suck it all out. Much simpler process than the simple drain, which, as you can see, if you pulled the drain out, it would simply drain all down and onto the motor down in there. So we've done that for the headstock, and now the next thing is to drain the oil from the gearbox. And the gearbox is down here, and the drain for the gearbox, this is not the drain for the gearbox, this is the electrical wire for the electrical switch box here, which turns the lathe on and off. Here is the fill plug. You can see right there, there's the fill plug for the gearbox. You could suck the oil out of there, but you can't see anything, and you also wouldn't be able to clean anything. So we took this plug right here. By the way, these are 8mm hex plugs, again 3/8 MIP thread, and I've taken that out of there and then used this little item right here which is a piece of plastic drain pipe, which I cut and then stuck underneath here in that manner to catch the oil and drain it into a jug out of there. The only problem with that is that some of the oil will still escape and drip all over, and so it's a pain. So I also put another 3/8 MIP barb in this one and hooked a hose to it, and then I'm able to drain it now. Now this one is not filled yet because it's just been emptied, and I've cleaned this, and now I'm going to show you the disassembly of the gearbox head, which is quite a process, and it's very nice to have this. I looked all over the internet for a
method of how to do this and was finally able to find nothing. And so I am making this, and hopefully will give somebody else a little easier job than I had. Okay, after you've drained the oil from here, you can begin to disassemble the front case so that you can clean out the oil and gunk that's in there, which you must and should do before you start the lathe. I've actually run this lathe with the bad oil for a while. Never did stop or do anything, but I don't know what kind of wear and tear it did. Maybe it just wore it in. So the first thing to do is to unscrew the covers for all of the knobs with these little tiny metric screws of some sort. And I've made plastic bags to put all of this in, which you may think is a silly thing, but let me promise you, you need to do it. It's not a shortcut that you should take. And I've labeled these. This is the, I call it the CDOEF handle. So I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to put that in there to mark what it is. I did originally use that for the small things, but you don't really need it if you have just a good Ziploc bag. And then the next thing, after we get all of these off, it's good not to drop things if you can help it. Good luck with that. And that is actually the 1 through 8 handle, I call that. And this lock handle, I'll put the rest of those in there. There are quite a few little pieces here, and that's why you need the plastic bags. If you fail to do this, you'll have parts all over. If you have to leave this, you will never remember how to assemble them. Unless, of course, you have this video, and then at least you'll know part of it. Okay, once you get that, then you grab a 4mm hex right here, and you take off each of these little set screws, okay, and put them in their respective bags. Now, nothing will pop out at you, or nothing should pop out at you, even though there is a spring and a ball bearing in there. Be cautious that it doesn't pop out, but it shouldn't. 8 handle. And then there are 2 in this CDOEF selector handle. Again, be a little careful that you don't let that spring pop right out. Okay, then grab something sharper. Where is my... and simply pull this out here. And that out there. 2 springs in this CDOEF handle, and this is magnetic, so I'm just going to pull those out like that. You will need some sort of magnet to pull those little ball bearings out of there. And then they go in the bag as well, and don't lose them. Okay, we're going to do the same with these. There we go. And this one. That one.